You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, welcome to the Cards to the Moon podcast with myself, Clark, and with my co-hosts, Hyung and John. This is episode 30, and it also happens to be the last one to be aired in 2021. So we thought it would be fitting to do a recap of this past year on some of the things in the hobby we've been right about, and some of the things we've been dead wrong. That should be fun and humbling at the same time. But before we do that, I usually say this at the end of the show, but I just want to give a quick shout out to all our listeners and subscribers to this show, plus a few guests that we've had on for interviews, which made producing this podcast a lot of fun. And I know it's something the three of us are looking forward to building on in 2022. If you haven't subscribed to our show, we really appreciate you doing so, and also following us on Instagram at Cards to the Moon, all one word, to get regular updates on our new episodes. And please share the show with your hobby friends if you enjoyed listening to us at all. All right, so let's start the show. And off the top, I want to get your reaction, guys, on Logan Paul's $3.5 million purchase of an authenticated case of first edition Pokemon cards. What do you guys think?
Is he ripping it?
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll only impress me if he rips it.
I think it's crazy. I'm pretty sure he will.
Yeah, I think it's insane, but I guess the only people that can really do it is, people that are, have that kind of money, investment money, right? But that's it goes hand in hand with like the influencers, the entrepreneurs, like crypto investors. You hit big on something, whatever it may be, you see crazy prices every day, right? But someone like Logan Paul, he has the audience, I think, to make that money back regardless. Mm-hmm. And I think to a normal person, it's insanity, but it's all perspective as well, right? So everything in between is where we're playing. So, to each his own is what I'm saying. And I hope that, it's a smart move for him. And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Whoever has a box of first edition is probably so happy right now that Logan Paul was the one that bought the case, because he's probably going to rip it, which means the pop count is going to go down even further, right?
Right.
And then they'll sell it back to Logan Paul the next case.
Yeah, for like $700,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The fact is, I mean, he's going to do it for the views, and he's going to do it for the showmanship. So he'll probably rip it all or do something crazy with it, or give one box away for donation or something like that. But as a collector or investor, man, I would never open that thing. Like, he's, they were kind of saying it on the video. They think it's widely known to be the only remaining case in existence, like sealed case.
Wow.
So, I mean, more than what's inside of it, I think the fact that you have an unopened sealed case of one of the Grail boxes, and I think they're mentioning there's 11 boxes in there. Mm-hmm. Obviously we don't know there are very limited amount of people that are collecting the $3.5 million stratosphere, but I actually think it's a pretty good investment at $3.5 million. That's probably I did the math. It's like 318 per box, 318,000 per box. And what was the height of the Pokemon box? I think it was like 400,000 or 450,000. Right. And then to have, there's probably a little bit of a premium to have like the entire sealed box. But yeah, anyways, good for the collector hobby universe. Again, good news is always, like any news is good news, right? So
yeah. I think I read somewhere that the guy who sold it to Logan Paul bought it for like $2 million and flipped it within like a year and a half.
Amazing.
3.5.
That's
right. So the appreciation on that is crazy.
I salute that guy. We gotta figure that guy out and get him on the show.
Yeah.
Isn't it Shine 150? The guy on IG?
Oh, is it?
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
I think he bought it for I think it was 2.7. So
Okay.
so in 1 year he made like 800,000, which is pretty nice.
That's
not
nice.
bad.
Yeah.
And come on, guys, I'm pretty sure he's gonna rip. Like when he got the case from, when he bought the case, he was already talking about like,
What is
he was really excited about trying to get like 11 first edition Charizard.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness!
So he's-
Oh my goodness!
It looks like he's gonna rip.
I know.
That's I
He's-
want to see.
I mean, he's gonna. How much are Charizard's going for? Like 200,000. That's if they're
First
PSA
edition?
10. So that's like
I
two,
have no clue.
maybe 2 million in PSA, 2 million in Charizards. He's gonna lose a lot of money.
Well, he can, have more necklaces around his
That's
neck
true.
for his next match. But yeah, that's pretty insane story, and yeah, we'll keep an eye out if he rips the case open. That'll be entertaining for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure.
And it makes me think that like I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a huge Pokemon guy. Maybe I was a bit older when Pokemon was big,
Yeah.
when when the cards were out there the first time. But it's making me want to research Pokemon cards now. In terms of it's just for strictly investor kind of.
Right.
I personally can't do it.
value.
I personally can't do it. I'll do Marvel before I do Pokemon in a heartbeat. But yeah,
Me
Pokemon's
too.
not
Marvel's easier to understand for me. Yeah. All right, I thought that was a cool story to start off with. Let's move on now then to hobby headlines. Okay, so before we sign off on 2021, we're still seeing some record-breaking sales of high-end sports cards. And just for fun, I want to get your thoughts on whether you think it was a good deal or if the buyer overpaid on some of these insane cards that were just sold. So first, I believe in the December PWCC Premier Auction, there was a Luka Doncic National Treasures Rookie Patch Auto, numbered to 99, and it was graded PSA 10 with an Auto 10, so perfect grading, and it sold for $780,000. Good deal or overpaid?
Does anybody know the pop count on that?
Good question.
I would assume 1.
Is it a 1?
but
Is it a 1?
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't see, but I would assume it's 1.
You know what? Based on Ezra Levine's interview, I'm gonna say it was a good buy.
Exactly.
Because when it sells for 1.5 or 2, everybody's gonna say 700K was cheap, right? And
Right.
based on where the leaders in our industry is projecting where this thing is going, I could see that being one of the grails of modern card history, right? So for me, obviously, with those cards, you gotta overpay first before, to get your hands on one of them. No one's gonna obviously let it go for, under what they feel, and 780,000 right now probably was an overpay. But when you're dealing with pop 1, if it is a pop 1, then I'd say yeah, it's a great buy. Even if it's a pop 2, I think you're in good hands at that point. So I'd say, as crazy as that sounds, that just says something about is I'm just talking about inflation. This is nuts. We're talking about $1 million card, 7-figure cards, and thinking the U.S. just printed 80% of money in the last couple of years, and you just see these record-breaking prices. It's insane. Just
It is
insane.
insane.
Thinking about it, but yeah, I think it's a good buy saying all of that.
Yeah.
Listen, if we were sitting back in February and March of 2021, this is easily a $1.5 million card, in my opinion. As much as in my opinion, as much as we think the high end market is live and well, but there's no question somebody that's about to drop $1 million on Luka is looking at other Luka cards and seeing Luka Silver down 50% and seeing Luka Quartzite down 70%. Like, that doesn't, you're about to spend $1 million. You're, as much as you believe in Luka, you'll probably still get a bit of cold feet. So I think 780, to be honest, I think it's a pretty good deal. And if some of the talking heads, especially some of the bigger people in this game, like we're talking Ezra and Josh Luber, and how optimistic they are about where this hobby is going and where this investment, the entirety of collecting a sports card world is going. Man, Luka NT, probably pop 1, 1010 PSA. Huge card. I think 780. To be honest, I think that's a steal. But I mean, that's coming from somebody who thinks Luka is a generational talent, right? So you speak to somebody who doesn't think like I do, they'll probably be like, "That's ridiculous. 780,000. It's a pretty big risk."
Right.
Yeah.
No, it is kind of funny. We're thinking 780K is a steal.
Yeah.
Just the pure sheer number is crazy. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you guys. With Luka, everything you guys mentioned, the card being a PSA 1010, rookie patch auto, iconic set. Mm-hmm. I could easily see that going over 1 million in the next year or two.
For sure.
So if I'm looking at it that way, for sure it's a good deal. So that's a Luka sweep there. Next card I want to bring up, again in the December PWCC Premier Auction, was the LeBron James 2003 Upper Deck Exquisite Collection, RPA. And I can't remember what it was number to. Let me look at it closely. 100. Number to 100? Yeah. And it sold for $384K. PSA 1010, right, if I didn't mention it already.
And which one is that? This isn't his main RPA. It's like a...
Right.
It's not considered
it's a horizontal one.
Right.
Yeah, not the vertical. Yeah. I think that one was lower serial numbered as well. But this one is, number 2.
Yeah.
100. It's a horizontal format, but it's an Upper Deck Exquisite Collection RPA.
Right. I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but the one that sells for in the millions, that's the rookie RPA. And then within Exquisite, there are probably insert RPAs. And I think this is probably one of the insert RPAs.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's tough. Because it's tough because it's not the exquisite rookie patch that Johnny was talking about, but I'm just bullish on the high end market in general. So I believe cards like these are all, and it doesn't make sense to us or some people maybe, but to some people it makes a lot of sense, and their situations are very different where they have millions of dollars where they believe in this industry. So their perspective comes from totally different. So I see what they see, and I see opportunity all over it, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen with technology, even though it's a LeBron insert, or not, it wouldn't be an insert, but not his more desired RPA exquisite. I still think there's going to be crazy legs with these upper end cards, especially a guy like LeBron James. So again, it's the same situation where today probably overpaid, right? But then when it's all said and done, we could look back and say, they bought the dip really. So that's where I stand. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a tough one because I think when we talk about, national treasures, RPAs, the ones that are first and foremost, even though we're not in the high end card market, they're readily seen. People know about them. This is obviously a lesser known LeBron card, so it's really hard to say if it was worth it or not. But like Hyung just mentioned, and we mentioned with the Luka card before, if the way the market is going is any indication, I think any of these big cards, there's a reason why they're all quote unquote record breaking sales for those particular cards, because people in that space really are bullish on where this is about to go, right? So, I think it's a good purchase. I can't say if it's a steal or if it was overpayment, but I feel like it's a good purchase.
When I first saw this for
384?
84, 384K. It being a LeBron James RPA just seemed like a super steal to me. But then you guys pointed out the fact it's not his most desired RPA, the one that's easily recognizable.
Right.
But again, the condition of the card is a 1010. People are going to see LeBron's career, and any of the high end stuff I could just see easily gaining in appreciation. And I could easily see that going to 500,000 in a hurry as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a steal actually. And if I had the money, I would have definitely added that to my collection too. Okay, the next one is a little different. We talked to Ezra Levine of Collectible, and this one is actually on Collectible. It's the 2009 National Treasures RPA of Steph Curry. It's a rookie card. It just received a buyout offer of 780K. So the exact same price as the Luka on as what the Luka sold for on PWCC. So 780K is a buyout offer. I think the way it works is that the shareholders of that Steph Curry RPA, National Treasures, they got to vote on it, I guess, to see if they accept that offer. And I believe I read that if they do, it was a 55% premium over the IPO price. So that's a pretty good return. So that being said, do you think the buyer, if the offer is accepted, is getting a good deal in this case?
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the same thing. Yeah. I like as a seller, I'm taking it too, though. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, well, you have no choice. Yeah, you take profit, move your profit elsewhere, and you do the same thing with another card, right? But yeah, I'm the same way. There's nothing more to say. Is like I think that's where this is all going. You know, is people are after these super high end cards because they're so desirable for stuff like places like collectibles. And you know, as big money comes in to this thing and it keeps on dumping in, you know, you're gonna see a lot more record breaking sales. And I reposted that I guess that clip we put with Ezra Levine saying that there's going to be an 8-figure card in 2022, what he was saying. And it makes so much sense when you do break it down to fractional shares, and it makes it very easy for investors, not collectors, but investors to get into the space. And this is where they're playing. They're not looking to invest in, you know, the $1,000 cards. These guys don't care to hold the product. They just want a portfolio that manages it, and they want to buy and sell and manage their portfolio just like they do crypto. I know it's not as fun, and people are gonna, you know, be downers about it, but at the end of the day, you know, these guys are investors first, and that's all they care about, right? So I think that's what you're seeing with all these cards, to be honest, these record-breaking sales. And yeah, even though, again, that's probably being overpaid. It's a little bit of the hype with Steph Curry, with everything going on. But then, you know, if he wins another MVP or if he wins another championship, you know, is it cheap, right? So that's where I'm at too. Same thing. Nothing changes. Overpaid probably, yeah, but underpaid in a short future, right? So
yeah. I think to add on to the fractional share thought, it seems to be working really well. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but the collectible Instagram account launched the Jordan SGC 10.
Yeah,
and I think it was like it was half a day. All the shares were gone. Like it just
999 shareholder spots.
Right,
I think that's what
it just got eaten up quick. So the market is definitely there. In terms of the Curry, I say 100%. What do we say 100% to? That the buyer was getting a steal.
Yeah, 780. Yeah,
because I think that card's topping 1 million. Like there's no question. Right. We're about to see a $1 million Steph Curry, and it's probably going to be that card, right? I know there's different versions of that card. I think there's like a platinum version numbered out of 5 or out of 10. Like that thing is easily going over, you know, probably like 1.5, 2 million. But the 1 out of 99, yeah, it's going to top 1 million. So I think Hyung's right too. If right now is clearly a bit of like a heat storm for Steph Curry in the midst of a down market. So is it a good time to sell? Yeah, it is. But, you know, at the same time, I don't think you're wrong by holding and not selling, because I think that's $1 million card or more, right? So, yeah. Anyways.
It'll be interesting to see, what the shareholders do if they actually sell at that price. But I don't know if this is going to be a boring show, because I'm going to agree with you guys too that at 780K it's a steal. I won't harp on it too much because you guys mentioned all the good points on it. But yeah, I could see that easily being $1 million card too. So if I was a shareholder, oh man, that's tough. I know it's a good return. Actually, I would sell too, because then with that money,
I could see it. Yeah, you put it into ETH or you put it into something else real quick, and then but
exactly, or buy a personal better card, like not a share of a card, but you could buy something for yourself, right, with that kind of money. Okay, I saved the best for last. This is a cool story actually, and you guys already heard it, but it's the 2013 Marvel Fleer Retro Spider-Man Precious Metal Gems card. And I think the story goes, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but The buyer bought it a year ago for $950, and it was numbered to 100. He got it graded at PSA.
Yeah.
He anticipated the movie that's out right now, No Way Home.
Beautiful.
And then with that PSA 9 grading, mint condition, he put it up for auction, I believe, and it sold for $72,000.
Oh
so from $1,000 to $72,000 within a year, and I think if you calculate that out, that's almost a 7,500% return.
That is beautiful.
So
insane.
With that said, like, that's amazing for the seller, like, to make that profit within a year. Do you think whoever bought it for $72,000 is getting a good deal, or do you think he's just, with Spider-Man the movie, the hype's out there and it might drop?
Yep.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yep.
I think he's gonna have a very nice PC for a while. I'm really happy. I'm really happy for the seller.
Yeah,
like, that's bravo.
Move.
That's what's motivating, everybody.
Perfect play.
It's a perfect play. It's
Perfect
exactly
play.
He's seen the market. He timed it perfectly, and he reaps the benefit. Right? You 75x. When's the last time you 75x'd anything? Right? That's ridiculous. Right? As for the buyer, see, I'm not completely sold on that space yet. I believe that there's a lot of area for Marvel, but that one's tough for me just because there's no proven history, right? Whereas all the other cards, these are all-time highs for other players, but we've seen where LeBron can go. We've seen where Jordan can go. We've seen where Gretzky's can go. And the Wagners and stuff like that. So in the sports card world, I could see it being a little more safer. With the hype of it was a precious metal gem too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful card. Don't get me wrong; it has so much eye appeal. It's a very, very nice card, but I just think 72K is a lot for a Marvel card right now. I could be totally wrong, but I'm not in that space, so that's the only reason why I'm saying it. It's just maybe a lack of knowledge, and maybe there's no comparables that I can say, okay, this is very concrete, that I could see that this is having legs. In sales is always, when I was a sales rep, it was always with a story. You would never want to be the first, or you never want to be the last in there, right? It's kind of one of those things. It's like, I want to see this market first, and if there might be a correction to that, and it might take very long on a long-term bullish market, let's just say, right? So I think it's a hype, to be honest. I think they might be holding the bag on this one a bit.
Okay, yeah. Fair points.
I think everything that we've learned in patterns of how sports cards or collectibles go up, like we're talking about hype and timing, we're immediately all in agreement, and I'm sure most of the listeners are going to be all in agreement that this was an absolute perfect sale by the seller. You know what that means? That means the buyer paid way too much. Like he's going to be holding the bag. That's what that means, like, in the end, right? And we know, like, long term, who knows? I think I would have been a little bit more on the buyer's side if this was a PSA 10. I think I can completely understand just going all out for that card because it's a PSA 9. And from what I think I understand, I didn't actually check the pop reports. I don't think there is a PSA 10, so PSA 9 is probably the highest for now. But I would have been a lot more confident in spending that kind of money and being the first trailblazer to spend that kind of money on Marvel if it was a PSA 10. So I think he's going to hold a bag, but long term, who knows, right? Like, Marvel had in 2021, Marvel was one of the big stories, right, of where it came out of nowhere and it started exploding. So who knows, 2022, there could be huge things in stores for Marvel. So I think this is, if history is any indication, I feel this is the Jordan $780,000 sale. Like, that's what this is reminding me of. Can the Jordan get back to 780? Yes, I think so. But just like the Spider-Man, I think it's gonna, true value is probably somewhere in, like, I don't know, I can't even say, but I don't think it's worth 71, and I think the buyer will have to wait quite a while to sell it back for what he's probably thinking it's worth, right?
Yeah, this is a hard one for me, actually. Like, I totally see your guy's point. Like, it looks like it was a perfect sale, perfect play, and we all applaud the seller. But I'm I'm seeing a lot of PMG Marvel cards on my Instagram feed lately.
They're everywhere.
And they look sweet. Like each one of them look amazing.
Right.
And when they're slabbed in a PSA or even a BGS, like it's a great looking card. And I think just by empirical evidence, like I think those kind of cards are slowly rising. And I could see a big boom in 2022 if you're right with what Marvel's trying to do in the coming year. That these cards, as the hobby continues to grow, these cards could also appreciate in value accordingly. And there's 100 of them. So let's say someone came out with another PSA 9 or 10 of that card. Do you think it'll sell significantly less than 72K? I don't know. I think that might be a benchmark, and I could totally see if everything breaks right. It was a risky buy at 72,000, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if everything breaks right with Marvel growing as fast as it is and the hobby growing as fast as it is, those PMG cards being highly collectible and a lot of higher end collectors coming into the game, if things break right, I could see that being a 6-figure card, and it's numbered to 100. And we joke about, remember the TMNT cards, if it's like a red refractor of Raphael, like red refractor of Spider-Man, or red red parallel card of Spider-Man.
The color match?
The color match we talked about last week, you can't get better than that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a good ceiling, a potential ceiling for it to go 6 figures. So it's hard to say. I think I'm on the fence, I guess, with that answer. But I think there's potential that PSA 9 is a pretty good deal. I'm sure we won't see the last of those well-graded PMG Marvel cards, right? I think this might be the first, but it certainly won't be the last.
Yeah, super hard grade too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's a good point. PMG cards are notoriously hard to get good grades on, right? Yeah. All right, that was a fun exercise. I guess based on all our answers, essentially we're all very, very bullish on the sports card market, especially on the higher end. We think these are all steals. These 6-figure cards are all steals. But yeah, it's great to see that we're optimistic about the hobby. I know it's been a kind of a roller coaster ride in 2021, but we're looking forward to greater things in 2022. All right. Before we actually wrap up this final hobby headline segment of 2021, let me ask you guys, what card or cards do you think has the potential to be that next record-breaking sale in 2022? And it doesn't have to be as high as the numbers we just mentioned, but what card do you think can take that jump where we're like, oh, this is a new record for this card?
I think 2022, we will see record-breaking sales for Bobby Witt Jr. Bowman Chrome Autos. I think he'll break a 6-figure sale this year. I believe the superfractor did sell for close to 100K. So it already is a 6-figure card technically. But I'm saying a color like red potentially goes for over 100K this year in 2022. I think he's gonna wow a lot of people. I think there's a lot of hype around it. I think it's a perfect marriage pretty much, right? But we'll see. That's just a strong prediction. Obviously, he hasn't played a single major league game yet, right? So we will see.
So you're really high on Bobby Witt Jr.
I'm pretty high on Bobby Witt Jr.
All right.
We already touched. Yeah, we already touched on. I mean, it's kind of boring, but we already touched on what I was going to talk about. And one of the ones I have first and foremost is the Steph Curry NT-RPA. I think it's going to break records this year. I think it's going to go over 1 million. So we already touched on that. I'm not going to say anything further. And we also touched on PMGs. That's another one thing I had on my list. I agree with you on all of that Spider-Man talk, but I still think that the buyer bought it at the height of the thing. But at the same time, we talked about this last week. I mentioned this point about the Steph Curry Chrome rookies, is that you don't see these cards appear at the same time, right? So sometimes you do have to pay the premium for it to kind of show up out of nowhere, right? I don't know if this is true, but I was reading some Instagram comments regarding the Spider-Man, and I think a Thanos, I don't know if it's a PSA 10, I assume it is. A Thanos PMG sold for 25K. And just looking at the PMG market now and how hot it is and how limited it is, seeing some of the basketball players, like no-name players, PSA 7s are going for like $10,000 from that original 97 set. So I think in 2022, in terms of record breaking, I think almost every PMG that is of pretty decent popularity, like you're talking about in Marvel, like Spider-Man, the main characters. And if you see basketball, especially if we see a Jordan show up or a Kobe show up, like if a Jordan green PMG shows up, I think those are numbered to 10, or a Kobe green. Like, I don't know if there's been $1 million PMG yet, but I'm pretty sure if those show up, those will be $1 million PMGs, right? So, yeah, I'm very high. I could see PMGs just breaking their own records left, right, and center in 2022.
Nice. I could totally see that as well.
Mm.
So I won't harp on PMGs too, because that was on my list as well. But so we've talked about that enough. One thing I could see really going for record-breaking prices, like we've seen the F1 sports car market heat up big time. And I think it's just going to continue in 2022, especially with the finale of that race. Right. And Netflix is going to be, I'm sure the Netflix execs are salivating right now, at producing this show. And I think the hobby will just ride alongside it, and kind of ride that wave. And, a Lewis Hamilton, whatever the next set is, a 101, or even a really low serial numbered card,
right?
That'll be easily six figures, and even Max Verstappen, of course, right? So I think I'm pretty bullish on F1, although I don't have any, but I'm kind of doing more research on it. But yeah, I think that's going to be something to look out for in 2022. And the other thing I had is I wouldn't be surprised if we see more vintage baseball cards in relatively good condition. And once those comes out, like whether it's a SGC grade or PSA or any graded card of a vintage baseball card in relatively good condition, I think those are almost timeless. Like you just see that appreciate year after year after year, right?
I think you're seeing more of that too. I'm calling very bullish on vintage. I think it's making its way back a lot. You're seeing a lot more. Actually, a lot more SGC slabs. They're well known. They're probably the best known for vintage, right? So, I'm seeing a lot more cards pop up in the vintage as well. So that's something that I think is going to be pretty hot in the upcoming year.
Yep, for sure. All right, cool. So this next segment is what we were talking about on the top of the show, kind of our look back at 2021 predictions, opinions, and the hot takes we've made. And in the name of accountability, we want to see which ones we were right on and which ones we were dead wrong about. So we're calling this segment Hits and Misses. Okay, I'm going to go first and get my misses over with. All right? So my first miss is me predicting the LA Lakers were going to win the championship this year. I know the season isn't over yet, and the team hasn't been completely healthy either, right? But it doesn't look good. So my sincere apologies if, based on my prediction, you went ahead and bought a Russell Westbrook card at a premium, or even Carmelo Anthony. Their prices have come down since the season started. So that's on me, guys. Second, earlier this year, I personally went in on a Zion Williamson Panini Select Light Blue Prism. I didn't spend too much on it because the market was kind of going down, but I kind of predicted his season would just fall apart like it has, like it has right now. I don't think he's going to play this year at all, and I'm pretty sure his market is going down even further. I think his base his base Panini Prism PSA 10s are in the 200s now, and we're talking about that as a $1,000 card before, right? So even his colored ones, like the one I had, the light blue, I think that's numbered to $299. I feel like that's gone down. I sent it to you, Hyung, to get graded by SGC. So I'm not in a hurry to sell it. So I might as well get it graded. Hope for the best.
And you know what I say to that, Clark? It ain't an L until you sell.
I love that motto.
Just hold the line, man. I mean, what's the point, right? It's like, his prices are down, but at the end of the day, it's all time based, right? And fortunately, we're not pressed by time, right? And even we'll continue the segment on I guess, losses, it was the same thing. I believe we're going to run into this because a lot of our predictions were for the basketball season, and the basketball market just kind of tanked, right? But for myself, I thought Luka was a great buy, optic, at 500, and it's retracted down 50%. I still personally think it's a great buy. Like, it's a pop 5,000 card, which is relatively low for a GOAT type player, and for $250, like, I mean, those are stocking stuffers, right? For Christmas. So, like, I believe it still will go up. It's just the timing of the market, but probably that and the tray courtside, which it retracted down to $500. Which I actually picked one up right around that price because I thought it was really cheap. But you're seeing kind of like the next sale happens to be $700, and then it goes based off last comp, right? So I would say those are probably my two biggest L's, or I wouldn't call them L's, but it just takes a little more time than what we anticipated, right? So
yeah. Fair points. All right.
I was looking back on like some of my show notes from like the first podcast all the way to the 30th to kind of review some of the things we talked about. And because we started when the market was pretty hot. So, we were probably wrong on almost everything. So the bottom line is we're a bunch of idiots and don't listen to us, right?
I like to say our very first episode was whether we're seeing a sports card market correction or a straight out implosion, and I think we said it was a market correction. I think we're still right about that, right? Come on, let's give us a little bit of credit here.
Yeah, but all jokes aside, my losses have been well documented on this podcast. we got Giannis. We got Giannis. That's a big one. We got MPJ.
Oh, yeah, right.
I talked about like. People got to get on buying courtside MPJ, and I think a couple of weeks after, we're like, who are you doubling down on? I'm like, MPJ, baby, you got to double down on the MPJ. Oh, that's a rough one, but I was looking back on the Giannis one, and I think his prices are back to similar before he won the championship, and it really made me think, like, man. Big boys, like the big men in basketball, get so disrespected. Like, I know I wasn't sure if Giannis was going to win, and I was pretty wrong on that. But man, the guy is a 2-time MVP, and now got a championship. I think the question on everybody's mind was, I don't think this guy can win a championship, and boom, he wins a championship. And his cards are still not at the level of like, rising GOAT type of player, right? So it's tough, man. I don't know what to really think about guys like Giannis. Like, is he gonna be like Luka and like these rising sexy superstars, or he's gonna go down the path of like Shaq, Tim Duncan, that kind of like not so sexy. He'll end up like top 15 all time, but his card values will be like a fraction of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, right? So it's tough to say, man. But anyways, Giannis, MPJ, probably my big losses. What's funny is I think on one of the earlier podcasts I mentioned like Keston Hira Sapphire at $100. It's a great buy, man. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it going any lower, and I think now it goes for like literally a Sapphire goes for like $20 or $25 or something ridiculous. Man,
wet newspaper, man. Wet newspaper.
Yeah, seriously. Hold the line, baby. Hold the line.
He's swinging on wet newspaper. That's the perfect analogy.
Seriously. Oh man.
Yeah, we've all had our L's. Because I see that Johnny's still a Giannis hater, so I think it's. You know what? That's a good point though. Like it definitely is back to championship prices,
which it shouldn't be, right? The championship should have set a new floor, right?
But I think Hyung said it too, like the whole basketball market just kind of tanked together, right? So it's hard to say, but we're, I think we're still bullish on basketball cards kind of making a comeback at some point, and we're buying a lot of cards on the dip. But let's go on to the things we were right about, and I want to stick with basketball. The one thing I was right about was in one of our earlier episodes, maybe even our first or second episode when we did our first pick one, I pit Steph Curry versus KD, and I chose Steph Curry because I just thought he was going to be a generational type player, and like he's going to be known as one of the guys that just changed how the game was played, and I think that's going to add tremendous value to his card. And when I said that, I didn't know he was on the verge of taking the 3-point title or the record. So if I had known that, I would have been obviously even more confident in my prediction. But I'm still kicking myself. I say this all the time. I wish at that time I was looking for Steph Curry to buy, and those prices were, in all hindsight, steal. And I didn't pick one up, and now I'm like, I'm a loser. So Steph Curry, it was a right pick by me, but yeah, I'm kicking myself that I didn't take my own advice and invest in Steph Curry back in the summer even. Yeah. So how about you guys? Anything you really got right this year?
Our constant buy. even though it's dipping, that's what we're right about, right? Is just keep on buying the dip. Yeah. For me, I guess I'll go earlier on the season. I was really high on Bo Bichette, and it was probably midway through the season, and obviously he got overshadowed by Vlad, and he always gets overshadowed by Vlad coming up through the minors. But I think his prices are still cheap, right? And based on what he's doing, he completed a full season, hit close to 300, which at the time he was probably hitting 270, 280. He was struggling a bit, but he ended up finishing with 28 home runs and 100 plus RBIs for a 22-year-old. I think
amazing. The
future is huge for him, and he does get overshadowed by Vlad. So I still believe that there's a lot of value, but I was a believer of Bo Bichette from the beginning. I think we have so much more in him, especially Toronto. Toronto fans are gonna enjoy having him up the middle, for years to come, right? So Bo Bichette is probably one of mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Clark, to piss you off a bit, during your segment of your prediction on the Lakers, I was the one that said the Lakers are overrated and Westbrook is not the answer. We don't know what's going to... I mean, look, by the end of the season, Lakers could win the championship, and I'm sitting here eating my words, but I still firmly believe Westbrook's not the answer. But anyways.
Put that in the right column for you.
Yeah. Being the hockey guy of the group, my earlier podcast, I was always talking like McDavid. So that's probably one of my small wins of the year of 2021. McDavid. This is by complete fluke because nobody really would have seen Zion gain like 100 pounds and have season-ending injuries. But I was not big on investing in Zion, and it's more to do with the fact that I personally see him more on the sort of Vince Carter, Blake Griffin, Sean Kemp scale than I do Jordan, LeBron. Yeah, I see him more on that scale where they're super relevant when they're jumping through the roof and having crazy highlights, but not really championship threats, and not really, once they lose their athleticism, who knows what kind of player they become. So yeah, I'm still...
Zion will be back.
Oh, he better be back.
I know. A lot of people got some big money on him, but yeah.
Okay. No, to be fair, I really wanted to just do a short flip for Zion, but he never even stepped on the court, so I didn't get the opportunity to do that. So 2022, come on, Zion, let's get back in shape. All right, let's do it together.
Yeah. I mean, to eat some of my words on this podcast, I did say Zion was a buy at certain points in 2021. So it's like a half win.
All right, I'm sure we're going to get some more wrong in 2022, and then we'll get a lot right in 2022. So yeah, it's a good way to just kind of keep track of what we're saying. And how can I forget? My best hobby win was Shohei Ohtani when I invested in it early. Yeah. So
absolutely.
But I'm off Shohei Ohtani next year. I think his prices are inflated, and I don't know if he's going to be healthy. So that's my 2022 prediction. We're already looking ahead. All right. Okay, let's move on then to our last segment of this episode and of this 2021 season of Cards to the Moon. We call this segment Pick One. And it's the Hot Takes edition, but we're making this one a 2022 theme. So in other words, our hot takes are looking forward into what we think could happen in 2022. So we'll present 2 2022 hot takes and then debate which one we think is likelier to happen. All right, Hyung, want to lead off?
Absolutely. We'll go because you guys know I love baseball, and this 2022 season is going to be fun because you have a lot of prospects coming up. One of them we mentioned earlier on the show, Bobby Witt Jr. I'm huge on him. So I'm going to go in 2022, a Bobby Witt Jr. first Chrome, okay, auto will hit 6 figures, okay, whether it's a red or orange, whatever is available. But I believe one of them will hit a 6-figure sale, not including supers, we'll say, versus a Wander Franco first Chrome auto will hit 6 figures first.
Man, I'll go first. I think it's easier for me to decide because I'm not as high as you are on Bobby Witt Jr. And I would normally knock him for playing for a small market team like KC, but I guess you could do the same with Wander Franco with Tampa Bay. I don't know. I'm super bullish on Wander Franco, and I think it's almost a given. Yeah, I think it's almost a given that one of his cards will hit 6 figures in 2022. So, yeah, I love guys. I said this in the past that can hit for high average, and he just has to develop into his power. And I think we saw the first steps of that this past season. And, it's hard to compare it to Bobby Witt Jr. because I haven't seen him in the minors at all. But from what I've seen of Wander Franco in the half season he's played in 2021, super bullish. And I was trying to get a Bowman Chrome first auto, and it's just still creeping up. So I haven't pulled the trigger yet. But I'm going with Wander Franco.
Nice. How about you, John?
I'd imagine a Wander Franco Bowman first red auto would already be probably close to 100 grand, no?
It could be. It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close.
So I want both of these guys. I'll admit I don't really know anything about Bobby Witt. I only want Bobby Witt because Hyung is high on Bobby Witt, so I'm just going to follow what Hyung buys. But, in order for a card, we all know this, in order for a card to hit a record, and we're talking 6-figure record in 2022, the demand has to be there. And I think it's clear of the two guys, everybody knows and has heard of Wander. He's like the can't miss prospect in the last handful of years. So that demand is there. So I think it's good. For me, it's a very easy pick. The hype and demand. There's a lot of people in the know. There's a lot of hype on Bobby Witt as well. So I could see that being a possibility too. But the Wander Franco hype train is just too big. There's too many eyes. And that just gives it a way higher percentage to see a record-breaking price. So yeah, Wander Franco.
All right, I'm actually gonna go Bobby Witt Jr. I'm gonna go really outside the box here with this hot take. I'm gonna believe he's gonna drop 30 bombs in the big leagues next year as a rookie.
Damn.
And this is why I believe this will happen. If he does something stupid like that, I believe his prices are going to be astronomical, right? Because it's the perfect marriage of an $8 million signing bonus, the number 1 or number 2 prospect, in all of baseball now, and just the ceiling, his history. There's a big list of successful big leaguers with Bobby Witt as a pitcher, and the son. I grew up watching Bobby Witt. He was a stud. And the crazy thing is, when I coached with the junior national team in 2018, 2019, we had the World Championship qualifiers in Panama, and Bobby Witt Jr. and Anthony Volpe were up the middle on that team. Wow. And it was ridiculous. And I remember watching Volpe because that was right before he signed, and I was just like, I don't see. At that time, I didn't see the $8 million because he was young. He was 17. He still, was a skinny kid. he had the bat, but he really didn't develop physically at that time. And same with Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe was tiny, but now I got to see some of his games even in the minors, just watching, and I'm telling you, he's something special. Of course, he's young still, so anything can happen. On the flip side, I think Wander is going to have a great season. I'm very high on Wander. The thing that worries me with Wander's prices is if he hits 290, 300 with 20 home runs, 85 RBIs, 100 runs scored, like has a great season, but it's not, the crazy numbers that, we see from Vladdy and stuff. Will people kind of think he's overpriced at that point, right? Even though he might develop into that. So I'm thinking Bobby Witt Jr. with the hype and the potential of his entrance in the big leagues could set something up. So that's why I kind of chose Bobby Witt Jr. No doubt in my mind, Wander Franco is ahead of him as of right now. But I think it's going to be interesting to see in 2022. And I think both of them will have record-breaking sales because I think both of them are going to come out swinging in 2022.
That's a good point about Wander. He's not quite the home run hitter, right?
Right. And I don't know how that's gonna respond to people, right?
Yeah. And old heads know this Nike commercial, chicks dig the long ball, right? It's still clearly it still holds true in the hobby today. Like if you're a part of the home run race, like that's what makes all the noise in the hobby, right? So let's say I could see that, man. If young Bobby Witt, rookie, is a part of the home run race, that's a different kind of hype than just Wander Franco, on base percentage being like super high or something like that, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, Johnny, you want to go?
Yeah. So I'm going to piggyback on, since we're talking 2022, I'm going to piggyback on Ezra's prediction of an 8-figure card in 2022. So we're going to put, I think if you do some kind of minimal research, which I've done, and I don't know if this is the best case, but I'm going to say, in my opinion, I think the Honus Wagner T206 has the easiest chance to become the next $10 million card. The SGC3 sold for 6.6. It's currently the highest selling card of all time. So we're going to put the Honus Wagner T206 becoming the first 8-figure card in 2022, or any other card out there becoming the first 8-figure card. I mean, if that Mantle PSA 10 comes out of the Baseball Hall of Fame, clearly that's going to be an easy 8-figure. I don't know, a LeBron RPA, if somebody's got a PSA 1010 out there, I don't know if it exists. I don't think it does, but something like that I think could happen. But what do you guys think?
I personally think, oh man, the Honus Wagner, if it's available, yeah. Like I think right? The next sale could be 8 figures, but I don't think it will be available, to be honest. I think there's going to be a lot more modern cards that are going to surpass it before it ends up breaking it. Right. I just think the Honus Wagner T206 is so rare, right? Like you don't see them up for sale. I think SGC3 sold for 6.6, right? And then
what if the PSA 3 comes out?
Yeah, exactly, for sure. And at that point, I think it's fair game. But I believe the way the market is going is, some of the hype cards like the LeBron James, the rookie patch autos, stuff like that, maybe one of ones, they start going for ridiculous amounts because of, fractional shares and stuff like that. So I'm going to go with the other. I don't see actually the T206 becoming the first 8-figure card. I think it's going to be something more modern. And then it's gonna eventually get there, though. 100%, it's definitely gonna get there. But I think it's gonna be a modern card first.
Yeah, I thought this would be an easier one for me, but I'm going back and forth because I feel like we're just talking about vintage baseball cards or vintage sports cards, and the people that can afford those and appreciate those vintage sports cards usually have the capital to buy it. And this was even before thinking about fractional ownership. That changes the game a bit, but I'm just going with the odds. I'm going to bet on the field. I think there's going to be other cards that are just like Hyung said, even more modern cards where as more people come into the hobby, we're going to have some rich investors come into the hobby too. And they're going to be probably a little bit younger. So now that there are younger investor types out there looking for alternative assets, we talked about that before in a previous episode. I could see someone spending stupid money on on a more modern card that's graded well. So I'm kind of going with the odds, just betting the field here. But yeah, I agree with you guys too. If ever a Honus Wagner comes up for auction, that has easily a shot to be that 8-figure card.
Damn. What's interesting about the Wagner, we're old heads, so we know about, like, everyone knows back in the day about the Wagner. That's like the all-time grail card that everybody talks about, iconic. All I remember news buzz-wise back in the 90s was that Gretzky bought one of the Wagners. So I just did like a quick research, and what's interesting about the Wagner 206 is that almost every Wagner that's in existence, known to be in existence, is like well documented. So people know that one of them exists at this museum and another one exists at that museum. The one that Gretzky had, I didn't know this, but he actually ended up selling it to selling it to Walmart for like $500,000, and Walmart used it as a part of some kind of crazy promotional campaign giveaway or something like that. But anyways, that card in specific, it's a PSA 8, but it's known to be altered. So I don't know if now it's classifies as altered, but it's a PSA 8, and they call it the Gretzky card. So all of these Honus Wagners actually have these weird nicknames, like the Gretzky Wagner, and then there's one Wagner called the Jumbo Wagner, which was the white borders were miscut, so they're actually a lot bigger than the real card. So what collectors say is that if you actually cut it to the real size, you have a perfect Honus Wagner. So the Jumbo is like I think it's called a miscut PSA 5. So if that one showed up, that's good, huge money. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to bet on the Wagner, because the reason why I say that is I'm not sure if 2022 we're quite ready to see a modern card go to 10 million. We're getting close, but I don't know if it's quite there yet. Unless there really is a LeBron RPA. Is there a PSA 10? Did we talk about this already? Where there was what was the crossover? Remember that crossover?
Oh, yeah.
Was that I'm trying to get back to my... Anyways, I don't, point being, I'm not sure if I quite am confident there's going to be a modern PSA, like a $10 million card. And yeah, Hyung's right in that the Wagner's probably not going to show up in the next year, but I'm going to take that bet instead, because I think if the Wagner does show up, if a PSA 3 shows up, or that Jumbo miscut PSA 5 shows up, that's going over $10 million. So I'm going to put my money on the Wagner being the first in 2022.
So we'll see if you're right or if Ezra's right for 2022, because Ezra seemed to be bullish on seeing that 8-figure card sale next year.
Yeah.
But no, definitely fair points by you. All right, I'll end off the Pick One segment with these two hot takes. One, hockey cards are going to see a major exponential boom in 2022 versus golf cards are going to see a major exponential boom in 2022.
I got to go with the hockey. Okay. I already see it a bit. Has some momentum with the Future Watch autos and, the young guns being kind of like the classic go-tos. I could see, especially with you talking about, Disney getting to hockey and, all that jazz. I just still think the golf card game is pretty weak, to be honest. It's pretty I guess stale. And hockey has that momentum going into 2022. So I'm gonna say hockey's the next biggest thing between the two.
Okay. Even with recent news that I guess none of the NHL players are playing in the Olympics.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a major factor in prices. To be honest, it's a temporary kind of thing that people are gonna forget about, and life's gonna go on, and we carry forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Selfishly though, if you're an owner of Ovi or Sidney Crosby or McDavid. Like, I mean, you wanted to see those Olympics. I think this was going to be the one and only time McDavid and Crosby were going to be lined up together. That would have been magic, right? So, and what that hype would have done to their cards. Oh my goodness. I've been saying golf. You know, you guys probably think I'm going to pick golf, but I'm going to pick hockey too. And I'm big on golf because number one, I don't know when the Netflix thing is going to come out. Hopefully in 2022, because I'm pretty excited to watch it. But I'm with Hyung in that I need to see Upper Deck do a good job. Like, of the golf products so far, it's super weak, man. I'm big on golf for specific cards and characters. Like, for example, Tiger Woods, or like, you know, the PMG Rory and the Tiger Woods PMG. Like, I'm big on specific eye-appealing cards that are appealing to the entirety of the market. And, you know, maybe like Bryson DeChambeau, but I need to see Upper Deck really do a good job of this next wave of sports cards for golf for me to buy into it completely for the entirety of golf. For hockey, you know, I'm big on hockey. I haven't collected big on hockey since I was a kid, but you can really see hockey moving right now. Like Hyung mentioned, Future Watch. We talked about this on previous podcasts. I think it's making a lot of movements, and hockey has been, you know, I don't know if it's by happenstance, but it's been well protected on this sort of giant base decline. You don't really, Young Guns is, yes, it's base. It's way more SP than real base because it's a lot more hard to get. But that's like the main quote unquote rookie cards. And they haven't fallen trapped to this base collapse. And hockey hasn't really, it's got its own market. It's not following this basketball prism, you know, super overprinted junk slab. It's not in that space. It's got its own little niche market. So I think hockey is well protected. And I could see hockey making some moves. So I'm going to, as much as I'm big on golf, I'm going to pick hockey.
Okay. Damn, I couldn't get you guys to bite the bait on the Olympic news. And yeah,
it hurts
and
though, man.
You guys are both golfers too. I'm not a golfer at all. So
I tried playing golf. That doesn't mean I'm a golfer.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's gonna be a hockey sweep for me. And you know what though? That being said, I think, and you know, like, I don't know if I said this before on this podcast, but I've said it to my friends, certainly, like, out of all the athlete interviews, hockey guys are the worst. Like, they're so boring. They say the same thing game in, game out. You can predict exactly word for word what they're going to say. You know, it's like...
Just wanted to give it 100%.
Right.
It's all about the team.
Exactly. We got to, you know, play two-way hockey. We got to play defense and all this stuff. And then, you know, on the other hand, golf guys are like, you know, they're becoming a little bit more celebrity status. You know, they're like DeChambeau you were mentioning. I don't even follow golf, but I know who he is because of his personality. So there's potential in golf. But if we're seeing for 2022, I think just based on the timeline of this hot take, hockey still has a leg up. We talked about Disney getting involved and just really promoting the sport this coming year through different media avenues. So yeah, it's going to be a hockey sweep. But 2023, it'll be interesting to see how golf as a sport, professional sport, unfolds and how that might impact the hobby even further. Yeah. But
I think you almost had us, man. If, for example, if we heard news that there was Topps Chrome Golf coming out, I'm pretty sure Hyung and I would have said golf. Like, no question.
I'm pre-ordering. Yeah, I'm pre-ordering a case.
We're buying cases of that stuff. So, yeah.
Come on, Upper Deck. Let's get on it.
Seriously.
Holy smokes.
Upper Deck Chrome. Think about Upper Deck Chrome.
Oh, man. Like, they need something like that.
That'd be sweet. Oh, man. All right. Okay, so thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to Cards to the Moon. We wish everyone out there a safe and happy new year. And we'll see you again in 2022. We're looking forward to a whole bunch of new shows with new interviews. And we're even talking about maybe doing more than one episode a week. So that's something we're in discussion with. But I think 2022 is going to be an exciting year for this podcast and for the hobby in general. So with that, take care, everyone. Happy New Year. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.